The 2023 NFL regular season is basically at the halfway mark, so we're assessing or reassessing some player evaluations today in the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started.
Joe, happy trade deadline day to you. We have Leonard Williams going to Seattle. That was done yesterday. We had Kentavious Street going to Atlanta in the midst of the Grady Jarrett news. And as of this recording at 9:17, that's about it. How many more trades did we get on trade deadline day?
Well, we set a record last year with 13, right?
Oh,
13. Well, there's other ones, right? There's been movement to this point in the season
Right.
that doesn't get Kevin Byard. We saw Chase Claypool. There's been trades, right?
Right. But today, how many more do we get today?
I don't know, man. Like 8. I'll say 8.
5.
Okay. Well, we're going to react to them all on tomorrow's episode.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
But today,
yeah.
over the course of the summer, we studied all 32 teams and their rosters and gave player assessments to every player on the rosters.
Seem to remember this.
Yeah. And if you're not initiated with this, the categories that a player could get placed into included franchise cornerstone, quality starter, adequate starter, quality depth, replacement level starter, incomplete evaluation, rookie, practice squad caliber player, and non-NFL roster caliber player. And every player got that. We did the first 4 weeks of the season. We reassessed all 32 teams and the players with standouts, but we didn't really talk about it. So now our objective, Joe, is to talk about it. So we each have separately prepared lists of individual players based off of the week 4 update. This is our quarter. I guess this would technically be our quarter 3 update because it's the start of quarter 3 of the season. Is that correct?
I'm not getting into these semantics. I'm not doing it.
At least I didn't say quartiles.
All right. You didn't say the quarter poll because that's the
third,
last.
We're starting the third quartile of the first quartile of the third quartile of the 2023 NFL season is where we're at right now. But yeah, we're at the halfway point. So we're reassessing again, and we wanted to talk about some of these players and the decisions that we're going to make on reevaluating some of these players here today on the show. Joe, with that, the floor is yours.
So I want to get into my first player, right? I had a guy that I went through. I have like a lot of names that we probably won't get to half of them, but there's a guy that I felt like I really wanted to bring up first. And I teased that hit yesterday on the podcast, and it's Travis Etienne, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, so we have a mutual player here. Travis Etienne has become a superstar in the NFL as a running back. He's right now 4th in the entire league in scrimmage yards. 4th. So it's Tyreek Hill. That guy's good. Christian McCaffrey. That guy's good. A.J. Brown. Holy smokes, that guy's good. And Travis Etienne, number 4. Had a huge year last year with Jacksonville. He's emerging as a catalyst for this offense. Kyle, 849 yards this year already, 8 touchdowns. Catching the ball, running the ball. He's a bell cow guy. I think he might lead the league in rushing attempts. Let me validate that right now. course, that's going to be hard for me to find. But
oh boy,
I know. Don't you hate that? Yeah, 151 rushing attempts. Number 2 is McCaffrey at 137.
And how many receptions does he have?
He has 27 catches.
So this man's on pace for like 350 touches this year.
He has 178 touches right now through 8 games. So yeah, every bit of that.
Yeah.
Put him down as a franchise cornerstone.
Franchise cornerstone. You've made yourself quite the case, Joe Marino. And the explosiveness is there. The 3-down skill set is there. Everybody looked at the drafting of Tank Bigsby and said, ooh, going to eat into that Etienne workload.
Needs to, actually. They need him to.
Need him to. But Bigsby can't hold on to the football.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right? So there's been some fumble issues there. Etienne totally has a different gear to him. So I'm totally good. So I'm writing these down as I go.
Oh, look at you. You got Spiral Notebook. I got the Spiral Notebook.
Yeah, I got a
really advanced here.
One. Yep.
Those are great to take with you to practices, man. I respect the small Spiral Notebook.
So franchise cornerstone, Travis Etienne. I want to keep it at the running back position. Talk about Najee Harris. It's time. We have given enough benefit of the doubt to Najee Harris, where we talk about the offensive line and the inability to block and Najee as a volume ball carrier. The yards per carry and the efficiency per touch was really promising through the first month of the season. He managed to post 2 games with a yards per touch in excess of 4 yards per touch. And we have just seen it completely stagnate in spite of not logging more than 19 touches in a game, going back to the week 2 game against San Francisco. So the volume is down. Jaylen Warren is eating into these snaps. We had Najee Harris as an adequate starter. How can you justify a running back with a career yards per touch of 4.2 and a career yards per carry across 663 carries of 3.8 yards per carry as an adequate level starter in the NFL? Can't do it.
Sounds like he's coming down.
So the question is, what is the classification? Because from adequate starter, you can go in one of 2 buckets. It's not totally linear, but in this case, it would be. You can become a quality depth player, or you can become a replacement level starter.
I think anybody would love to have Najee Harris as a depth player for their team.
Yeah.
Right? But if he's a starter, he's a very ordinary starter. Nobody's getting nervous about playing the Steelers and having to deal with Najee Harris.
I'm kind of inclined, like the intention was this was a first-round pick as a starter.
An impact starter.
Right. So when you take all of those variables and piece it together, I'm inclined to say this is a replacement level starter.
I would agree with that.
Okay. You want to get another one?
Yeah. The other guy here that really stood out to me is a guy I wanted to pound the table for and elevate here. Is a guy that's a yellow. I think he should be a light blue. And his name is Bobby Okereke, the linebacker for the New York Giants. Took a couple of games to kind of get his feet wet with the Giants after signing a pretty nice contract to come over from Indy. And Indy has linebackers, right? Like we were watching, that was one of our biggest takeaways from studying them was with EJ Speed, Zaire Franklin, Shaq Leonard, Bobby Okereke. Now, this guy gets to be like the heart and soul of this Giants defense. And Wink Martindale's kind of figuring him out. He's figuring out this defense, and he is making an unbelievable impact to this point this year. I think with the floor that he showed us in Indianapolis and the upside and the playmaking and the impact that he's showing us with the Giants, I want to make the case for him to go from a yellow to a light blue, which is a quality starter. So an adequate starter to a quality starter.
I thought he played well against Miami, but the game against Buffalo was the one where it's like the light bulbs come on. I mean, that dude was all over the place.
Yep.
So justifying that $10 million per year contract at this stage, and if he keeps it up, he's going to be locked in long term. But I agree with you. I think that's a great call out as somebody who in quarter 2 of this season has taken a big time leap after kind of getting acclimated in the first quarter with the first couple of games.
All right. Bobby Okereke on the way up. Najee Harris on the way down. Travis Etienne on the way up. We got more. And if you want more good things dropped off right at your front door, you got to get to DoorDash. I'm obsessed, Kyle. I ordered last night. I did. I'm not going to lie. Smoke Pit once again. We got the wings. We got a sausage. We got a piece of cornbread, and it was delicious. And that's my favorite thing about DoorDash. It brings me food from my favorite local restaurants right to my front door. We've been going to El Vallarta, the Mexican restaurant that I love. We got Afton Tavern, so they have some really fun, like this balsamic chicken glaze that I love, and I mean even some specialty pizzas that I like from Afton. So, look, DoorDash, that's the beauty of it. It's so convenient, and they will bring you food from your local favorite restaurants and groceries brought right to your front door, so you don't have to worry about what's for dinner. You don't have to worry about what you're going to snack on. You don't have to worry about when you're going to have time to go to the grocery store. You can let DoorDash handle that for you. We got a deal here. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and enter code LOCKED23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Don't forget to use code LOCKED23 for 50% off up to a $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Subject to change. Terms apply.
I would like to formally file a request to formalize the player evaluation of Daron Bland.
Oh, he was on my list too.
Yeah.
Yep. Send it, baby.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so let's just cover our bases here.
Mm-hmm.
Daron Bland, as a rookie last year, had 5 picks and 7 passes defensed across 8 starts in 17 games. And in the summer, we say, hey, still a little early with the sample size, but this guy played like a quality starter last year. So what does he do in the first 7 games this season? He gets 4 more interceptions. He's got 9 in 24 career games. He's got 3 pick sixes. He's got more passes defensed, 9, than he did all year last year. 7. Oh, by the way, they lost Trayvon Diggs. And Daron Bland has made it so that you're not missing him all that much. Now, you're still missing him, but you're not missing him all that much. So he was a pink, which was an incomplete evaluation. I want to make this a light blue, which is a quality starter, and lock it in. We're a season and a half of just outrageous ball production. He has 25 passes defensed in total across 24 career games.
You get no resistance from me on that. That's what I had down on my list, and I was hoping we get to him. We did. And yeah, what a nice pivot. I mean, obviously you'd love to have Trayvon Diggs. You would. But sometimes the silver lining is that you get to see guys step up and emerge, and we've seen that from Daron Bland. All right, ready for my next one here? My next one's a guy who recently signed a contract extension with their team, and it looks like a good deal. And it's Mr. Carl Granderson with the New Orleans Saints.
Good call out.
Signed a $52 million extension, $35 million guaranteed, 4 years, $52 million with the New Orleans Saints. And thought he really turned a corner last year, but it was in a smaller role, right? 480 snaps last year, 448 the year before that. He's been a nice third defensive end from them. Well, he's getting a chance to start, and he's taken everything that he showed us in a complimentary role, and now in a full-time role, he's doing that and more. 6 sacks already this year, 30 pressures. He is already at 403 snaps, right? So he's going to be this full-time asset for this Saints defense. And, the issue with Granderson, you watch him at Wyoming, you watched a good football player. The injuries, right? That was the big issue with Granderson. And now he was drafted in 2019, and he's well into his career. I think he's telling us who he is, and we have him as a purple, as a quality depth player. I think
some of that was perpetuated by the fact that they just kept drafting edge guys.
100%, yeah.
Peyton Turner.
They did the same thing with Hendrickson, right? It's sometimes that third guy's just better than the Peyton Turners and the Marcus Davenports. I think he goes from a purple, yellow. I would say at least a yellow on it. Which is a sufficient starter.
It's an adequate starter. Yeah. So this was somebody who we thought, based on how they continued investing, he's going to be part of the rotation. Well, he's not getting paid like a rotational guy anymore.
Dude, he's playing 50-plus snaps a game. You know what I mean? Like that in an odd or an even front defense where they rotate.
Right.
He's a dude for them. Let me see what his snap percentage is this year. He's at 78%. His career high previously was 45%. Like he's not a depth player no more, man.
So I got an edge guy as well. I actually have two edge guys that are one's a household name and one is not, because I think probably of his draft profile.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Sweat.
Mm-hmm.
This dude's a stud, man.
Monster. He's
an absolute stud. We had him as a quality starter. I think it might be time. He's on pace for another double-digit sack season. He had 11 sacks last year. He is long. He's big. He's a 265, 270-pound player with crazy first-step explosiveness. I don't remember where you had him eval'd coming out. I liked him a lot. We were all surprised he lasted until the 4th round. He gets drafted 130th overall.
Yeah.
He might be the best true hand in dirt outside. Like I think he surpassed Brandon Graham. And I know Brandon Graham's long in the tooth and has been there a really long time. And I say best hand in dirt because Hassan Reddick's still their best pass rusher as a hybrid linebacker type. And I have to put it on the edge because Jalen Carter exists. And I think Carter's been outstanding. I would make a case for Josh Sweat to be a cornerstone over some of the players that we currently have listed as franchise cornerstones.
Not going to get any resistance from me. You watch the Eagles, you feel the impact, right? Every time I watch the Eagles, I feel that guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not often looking for him. I'm sitting there watching Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. That's where my eyes are. And I keep going over to Josh Sweat.
Yep. And there's 94 screaming in there.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Can I piggyback off of that with the cornerstone player that I would like to advocate we adjust?
Mm-hmm.
Joey Bosa. We've been banged up again. Missed some time. We have, between last season's 2.5 sack performance, and the sacks are better this year. He is 4 at the halfway point. But he just doesn't look the same. He doesn't look like the guy that they gave that monster contract to at this stage. And I'm a little worried that it's coming down to how much the injuries have sapped some of what made Joey Bosa. So I'd still put him as a quality starter. That's the same bucket we have Khalil Mack in. But
yeah, I think that's
is Bosa on that trajectory of kind of following the same career pathway as Khalil Mack? Right now, it kind of looks like it. And Mack had 8 sacks last year. So
let's sneak one in here.
Okay.
Here's one maybe you weren't expecting. And I know one of our objectives is we have these pink players, right? Guys that are incomplete players that we don't know yet. Well, I think a guy that I've studied a lot here over the last week because the Bills just played this team. It's Luke Goedeke, the offensive tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, second-round pick that they had last year. Got a chance to get some experience last year. It was very rough. But I think he's stabilized for sure this year and has proven to be at least a sufficient starting right tackle for them. He's very athletic, not super long, but a guy that Central Michigan didn't he go there to play tight end, and he wound up playing guard and switch out to tackle in the NFL. So there's been a lot of transition for him in his young football career. He's 24 years old. I think he's been at least a sufficient level starter. And I think one of the big storylines for Tampa Bay has been the offensive line kind of exceeding their expectations after a lot of transition, right? And injuries. Especially in pass protection, right? The run blocking we know has not been great. The protection has been good. And I think a big reason why is obviously what Tristan Wirfs is at left tackle and what Goedeke is at right tackle. So my case for Goedeke is from a pink as an incomplete to a yellow as a sufficient starter.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
All right, what I'm also cool with is FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. And so you could get as drastic as you want with this, right? I mean, money line just means you pick the winner. You pick the winner of the game. So if you feel really good about a certain team beating a certain team this weekend, put $5 down on the money line and you will get $150 in bonus bets. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use, and there's a wide range of things you can bet on, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Joe, I'll keep it at offensive tackle with our next conversation. We need to have some kind of conversation about Ikem Ekwonu.
I don't want to.
I know you don't want to, and I don't particularly want to either. We loved Ikem coming out. All of the physical skills in the world. He's been objectively bad this season. And some of this you probably think can be traced back to he started slow his rookie year and then kind of turned the corner as the season went on. Now you got a new scheme. You have a new quarterback who stylistically plays differently. Like, I get it. But how many times are we going to get beat across our face? On an
can't deny it. You can't deny it. You cannot deny it.
And
his team needs him more now than ever, too.
Right. And I'm not saying we're punting on Ikem Ekwonu, but we had him as an incomplete evaluation leaning towards a quality starter. Yeah, it's not quality starter tape right now.
No.
So there's some high moments in the run game. Do we lean into that and say incomplete evaluation leaning to adequate starter? I think that's probably the most fair and not overreactive thing that we can do.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
I want to pound the table for a cornerstone. That's not a cornerstone.
Okay. I'm glad that you had one after I did the Josh Sweat thing, because I was like, oh, he might think that's a little too aggressive.
Well, I mean, I did the thing with Travis Etienne, right?
Right, but we were on the same page there because we teased that earlier in the week.
I think you're going to like this one. I don't know. It's a player that I'm not going to build this up. His name is TJ Hockenson, tight end for the Minnesota Vikings. 1,000 yards receiving in 2022 despite switching teams. And he is on an incredible pace this year. He's second amongst NFL tight ends in receptions and yards behind only Travis Kelce. And I remember that first game without Justin Jefferson. I'm watching the Vikings, and who they play. Was it Niners? That was their first game without Jefferson, right? And they ran the offense through him, man. 11 catches in that game, 86 yards. He shows up every week. He's productive every week. He's becoming a big focal point of that offense. I think that he's proven to be one of the best tight ends in the league, like one of the elite tight ends in the league. And the sample size just keeps growing in that favor. So I think that he deserves to be in that same bucket with, like the Mark Andrews of the world.
Especially because that was the leanest position that we had for cornerstones other than like nickel corners.
Yeah.
It was like nickel corner. We had Hilton and that was it. And then at tight end, it was Andrews, Kittle, Kelce, and Goddard. I think were the only 4 tight ends that we had. Now
Hockenson's there.
The only thing I'll ask you is this, and obviously he's got 21 targets, 17 receptions, 174 yards, and a touchdown the last 2 games for Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Awesome production. Are you at all concerned about he's now played 18 games and been targeted over 150 times in Minnesota and is averaging 8.8 yards per catch?
I know 2 of your buzzy things are yards per catch and yards per run. Those are like very important numbers to you. I don't know that they matter as much to me.
Okay.
And I'm not saying there's any merit to like not caring about those things, but like, so, I mean, I think it's Jonnu Smith, right? That's the name, right? Like just not even a real player in terms of how that production happens. His average depth of target is, let me see if I can find it, 6.7. Maybe you wish that was a little bit more, but I mean, that's also that style of offense. And his average depth of target lately, like where he's been at this production, like last week, over 10 yards per target. So like it wavers a little bit.
Are we just concerned about Justin Jefferson constipating justifying his role. But then you look at San Francisco and what we do at Kittle. I think Kittle probably got that classification in part because of his blocking. Hockenson's a good blocker, but not a Kittle blocker. I'm just rounding out the conversation. I'm not going to fight you hard on it. I think it is just one of the more complicated evaluations because we're now getting to see a different version of Hockenson versus when the $30 million plus wide receivers on the field. Hockenson. He's been with them for 18 games, including the game that they acquired him immediately after the trade deadline. He has 113 receptions in 18 games for Minnesota.
Yeah, I think you bring up a fair point with the yards per catches, particularly as it relates to the average depth of target. But I mean, come on, this guy's been really productive.
Okay. I'd like to have a conversation about Deshaun Watson. We've had him as an incomplete evaluation. I've seen enough.
Which for the scoring purposes means it doesn't help them or hurt them.
Right, because quarterbacks are graded differently. They are looked at through a lens of 1 through 32 because of the positional weight that position carries. So we actually rank them. But we do have him classified as an incomplete evaluation. I'm ready.
To say that he's
He has not provided you anything that you could not have gotten and have not gotten from PJ Walker.
He's an orange.
I think so. I've seen nothing and that would put him in the same conversation with the following names: Josh Dobbs, Jimmy Garoppolo, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, based off of their play this season. Those are the quarterbacks that got put into that bucket.
Somebody commented on the YouTube a few weeks ago and said that Deshaun Watson has been at least an above-average starter for the Browns. So this guy's going to be real mad.
I promise he has not been.
He's going to be real mad, Kyle.
Let's see. What are they? Give me another name.
I mean, I got so many. The good news is I hit the big ones. I hit the ones that I really wanted to.
We've passed the threshold of names that you were worried about us having time to get through on the show.
Yes. So now it's like, Michael Gallup, I think he probably goes from a yellow to a purple.
Yes, that's a great call.
Receiver for the Cowboys. I mean, come on now. This guy's a bum. It's unfortunate because it's injury related, right? I thought he was really good before the injury, but he's not helping that team.
And they desperately needed him too.
Yeah.
So we had Trevor Lawrence, just to make it interesting, as a pink. And Jacksonville fans got real mad about it. We said, well, he played really good in the back half of last year. But his rookie season with Urban was a throwaway year, and it took him a minute with Doug.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Trevor. I've seen a couple Jacksonville games. Do we have enough conviction now that this version of him is sustainable?
Oh yeah, I think this is definitely, he's showed us that it's sustainable. I'm curious like how much more there is, but yeah, he's an impact starting quarterback, no doubt about it.
So cornerstone?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny, I had another Jaguars player, is Andre Cisco. I thought he deserved to go from a yellow to a light blue. So we can just gas up the Jaguars.
I would be inclined to agree with that if you are willing to meet me on the following terms.
What do you terms? It's an isolated conversation. If Andre Cisco is deserving to go from a yellow to a light blue, he's deserving to go to yellow to a light blue.
Kirby Joseph also deserves to be a light blue.
Oh, okay. Sure.
No Had problem. That interception last night.
I was like, where are you going to go with this?
Yeah. So hold on. We got Kirby. We got Cisco.
Kirby missed a few games there at the beginning, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So a little bit out of sight, out of mind.
I also think Ali McNeil is worth having a conversation about bumping up.
What do we have, Matt?
Adequate starter.
You think he's a dude?
I think he's turned a corner. I think he's giving you a little something different.
Yeah, he's a light blue.
Okay. Give me your hottest bill adjustment.
Oh man, that was going to be a private conversation for you and I.
then you're second hottest. I don't want to.
No, I have a lot of Bills stuff here.
Right. So
I think you got to
take
take Von Miller off of the dark blue. He's not a franchise cornerstone right now or anything close to it.
Just doesn't have the gas.
He's just not Von right now. He's played 4 games since coming back from the ACL tear, and I mean, I've watched every snap of it, and there's no way he deserves a blue. You're hopeful that happens, but he can't. From a scoring perspective, we can't be sitting there gassing him up like he's Myles Garrett for the Buffalo Bills. That has to be different.
Right. A little bit of separation there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have a lot of other Bills stuff to say, but that's the most obvious thing to say out loud.
Okay. I think mine would probably be downgrading Cater Kohu for Miami.
Well, hopefully he could play in the slot. And
you saw that against New England.
Right?
And Needham's back. He played 4 snaps. Cater played the whole game. And you saw a little bit more of the confidence and the physicality with Cater, but even just like transitioning to this zone match defense versus all of the press man footwork that he was so used to.
Yeah.
It really became apparent when Ramsey was back, and you see like how Ramsey's footwork and eyes are on that interception.
It's a different job.
Yeah, it's a different job, but it's also understanding the leverage of the defense and the rules of the defense to know when you can make a play versus just being reactive.
Yeah, it's all through vision. You have to play with vision. Yeah.
So that was the biggest epiphany for me with Ramsey coming back, was seeing a perimeter corner that's played in this system and how he plays and what his technique looks like. And then I think back to what this entire season has looked like with Eli Apple and Cater Kohu and Xavier Howard on the outside. It's like that he's playing a totally different game.
Yeah.
And it was his first game back. It was crazy. But for Cater, they played him outside a few times, and I thought he'd be up for that challenge, and he hasn't been. So I'd probably downgrade him from where we had him. So that's my Dolphins hottest one. That's going to do it for us here, this episode of Locked on NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We'll be back after the trade deadline at 4:00 this afternoon.